During a business trip, my husband accidentally sent me a romantic text meant for his assistant. When I confronted him, he laughed, "You'll never leave me." I quietly replied, "I already did." When he returned, all his belongings were gone and my lawyer said, "She took the company too." He felt his knees screaming, "No." My husband Mark travels a lot for work. He's the CEO of a company we built together, though most people don't know I had any part in it. To them, I'm just his wife. The woman behind the man. The one who smiles at company parties, remembers everyone's spouse's names, and stays out of the way. I was okay with that. I didn't need the credit. I was happy. Or at least, I thought I was. Mark was in Chicago for a conference. He had been gone 3 days, and everything felt normal. He texted like usual, short messages, nothing special. "Long meetings today. Hope your day was good." That sort of thing. I didn't think anything of it. Then, one night, I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when I got a text from him. "Can't wait to feel you again. Last night was incredible. Still thinking about you in that red dress." At first, I smiled. I thought maybe he was trying to be romantic. But then I realized I hadn't worn a red dress in years. I sat up. My chest felt tight. My fingers hovered over my phone as my brain tried to find a reasonable explanation. Maybe he meant something else. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe I typed back, "Wrong person?" 3 dots appeared. Then they vanished. Then they came back. Finally, his response popped up. "Oops. That was for my assistant. Ignore that. Ignore that." I stared at my screen, rereading the words. My whole body went cold. My mouth went dry. I called him. He picked up after 2 rings, his voice casual. "Sarah, it's late." "Who is she?" My voice didn't even sound like mine. "It doesn't matter," he said, sighing. "Look, don't do this. It was just a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated. "You literally just admitted to sleeping with your assistant. So what?" His tone was sharp now, annoyed. "You're not going anywhere." I blinked. "Come on, Sarah," he said, chuckling. "We both know you won't leave. You need me. You wouldn't throw everything away over one little mistake." "One little mistake. Where would you even go?" he continued. "I make the money. I run the company. What are you gonna do, leave and start over?" "Be serious." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel angry anymore. I just felt done. I took a slow breath and said, "I already did." And I hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. Then, I got up and started moving. The first thing I did was call my lawyer. Her name is Diane, and she's the kind of woman who makes men like Mark nervous. Years ago, when Mark and I were still building the company, he had put my name on certain legal documents without thinking much of it. He assumed I'd never actually use them. Diane had told me then, "If you ever need to leave, let me know. I can make it hurt." That night, I let her know. I transferred my shares of the company into a trust under my name alone. I froze our joint accounts. I hired movers. By the time Mark's flight landed, the house was empty. Mark called me the second his plane landed. I didn't answer. He called again. And again. Then came the texts. "Mark, what the hell is going on? Mark, where's all our stuff? Mark, Sarah. Answer me." I didn't. I was sitting in a hotel suite, sipping coffee, watching the sunrise over Miami Beach. My lawyer had booked the room under a different name, just in case Mark got desperate enough to try and track me down. At 10 a.m., Diane called. "He knows." "How bad?" I asked, calm. "He's losing his mind. He went straight to your old office, demanded to see financials. The board called me. He just found out he doesn't own the company anymore." I smiled. "He's coming to you next," Diane warned. "Be ready." I wasn't worried. Mark wasn't the kind of man who could handle not being in control. Right now, he was panicking. But soon, he'd be angry. By noon, I got the message I was waiting for. "Mark, what the F did you do?" "Mark, this isn't funny, Sarah." "Mark, we need to talk. Face to face." That's when I knew I had him. I let him stew for a few hours before I replied. "Meet me at the Ritz at 7. I arrived early, wearing a sleek black dress I had never worn around him before. I wanted to look like a woman he didn't know. A woman he had underestimated. Mark showed up exactly at 7. He looked different. His suit was wrinkled. His hair was out of place. He had dark circles under his eyes. "Sarah," he said, stepping toward me. I lifted a hand. "Sit." He did. "What do you want?" I asked, tilting my head. He let out a sharp breath, like he couldn't believe I was asking. "You took everything." I sipped my wine. "Did I?" His hands clenched into fists. "What do you want, Sarah? Money? Fine. I'll transfer whatever you want. Just give me back my company." I laughed. "Your company?" I repeated. "Mark, you don't even work there anymore." His face twisted. "You think you can just steal it from me?" "I didn't steal anything," I said, calm. I took what I built. He sat back, shaking his head. His eyes narrowed. This isn't about the affair, is it? This was about power. No, I said, setting my glass down. This was about respect. And you lost the right to mine the second you laughed at me over the phone. Mark leaned forward. Sarah, if you do this, if you really go through with this, you have no idea what I'm capable of. Neither do you, I said softly. And then, just as I expected, he played his last card. I have something on you too, he whispered. Something big. Now that was interesting. I didn't flinch. I just stared at him, waiting. Something big. I repeated. Then say it. Mark smirked, leaning back in his chair like he had already won. His confidence was coming back, like he thought he still had the upper hand. You think you're untouchable now, huh? He said, tapping his fingers against the table. You think you can just walk away and leave me with nothing? I don't think, Mark. I know. He tilted his head, studying me, and then he pulled out his phone. You're smart, Sarah. But you forgot something. He scrolled for a moment before turning the screen toward me. I frowned. It was an email thread. My name was on it. Then I read it. My blood ran cold. It was a conversation between me and an old investor from years ago, back when Mark and I were still building the company. It was full of legal jargon, negotiations, terms, but one thing stood out. The deal was shady as hell. My stomach twisted. I had no memory of agreeing to anything illegal, but if you looked at these emails out of context, it would be easy to assume I had done something unethical, maybe even criminal. Mark was watching me closely, waiting for a reaction. Where did you get this? I asked, keeping my voice even. I never deleted anything, he said smoothly. Not when I saw you making moves. Not when I realized you were getting too comfortable. Just in case I ever needed leverage. I exhaled slowly. So, what? I asked. You're going to take this to the SEC? The police? Mark chuckled. I don't have to. I'll just leak it. Let the media do the rest. I stared at him. You must be desperate, I said. You really think some old emails are enough to scare me? They don't have to scare you, he replied. They just have to be enough to ruin your reputation. Get the board to turn on you. Investors to pull out. Lawsuits, investigations. Even if nothing sticks, the damage will be done. I sat there, silent, pretending to think. Truth was, I had already anticipated something like this. Mark wasn't the type to roll over and accept defeat. He was a man who had built his entire life around power, and losing it wasn't an option for him. That's why I had already taken precautions. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone, opened my own set of emails, and then I turned the screen toward him. Mark's smirk vanished. His face drained of color. He swallowed hard. Where did you get that? I smiled. You never deleted anything, Mark? Well, neither did I. The email on my screen was worse. Much worse. It was a thread between Mark and a private firm, one that specialized in offshore accounts, tax fraud, embezzlement, and his name was all over it. You should have been more careful, I said, leaning forward. You thought you were covering your tracks, but you got sloppy. You always did. Mark's hands gripped the table. His jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. You leak mine, I continued, and I'll leak yours. Only difference? Mine is just bad optics. Yours is a felony. Mark didn't say anything. So, what's it gonna be? I asked, tilting my head. Are we going to war? Or are you going to sit down, shut up, and walk away with whatever dignity you have left? For the first time since this all started, Mark looked afraid. Mark was still gripping the table, his knuckles white. His breathing had gone uneven, and for a moment, I thought he might actually lunge at me. But he didn't. He just sat there, staring at the screen of my phone, his eyes darting over the incriminating emails. I knew what he was thinking. He was calculating. Trying to find a way out. Trying to figure out if he could still win. But there was no way out. You think you've won, he finally said, his voice low. I don't think, I replied, my voice just as steady. I know. Mark exhaled sharply and ran a hand through his hair. He looked unhinged. This was a man who had never lost, who had spent his whole life being the one with the upper hand. And now, for the first time, he had nothing. This isn't over, he muttered. Yes, it is, I said simply. And then I stood up. I grabbed my purse, took one last sip of my wine, and turned to leave. I had only taken a few steps when I heard him push back his chair violently. You're not walking away from this, Sarah. His voice boomed through the restaurant, making heads turn. You think you can just erase me? Take my company? Take my money? I stopped but didn't turn around. I didn't erase you, Mark, I said calmly. You did that yourself. But Mark wasn't done. You were nothing without me, he yelled. You were just some stupid housewife. You wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for me. The entire restaurant had gone silent. People were whispering, watching. Some were even pulling out their phones. I slowly turned around. A housewife, I said, tilting my head. Funny, because I'm the one who built your legal contracts. I'm the one who handled negotiations when you were too busy pretending to be the smartest man in the room. I'm the one who covered for your mistakes, held everything together while you chased whatever skirt happened to be in the office that week. His jaw twitched. And now, I continued. Now I'm the one who took the company, the house, the money. So tell me again, Mark, who's nothing without who? His face turned red. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He was shaking with rage, his entire body taut like a wire about to snap. That's when I saw her. A woman had stood up from a corner booth, her face pale. It was her, his assistant. Her eyes flickered between me and Mark, and I saw it, the realization, the horror. She had backed the wrong horse. Mark finally noticed the attention on us. His breath was ragged. His hands clenched at his sides. And then he did the one thing I never expected. He dropped to his knees. Right there in the middle of the restaurant, in front of all those people, he collapsed onto the floor, his hands tangled in his hair. Please, he whispered. Don't do this, Sarah. Please. For a moment, I felt something close to pity. But then I remembered the way he had laughed at me that night. The way he had told me I had nowhere to go. The way he had cheated, lied, manipulated. I stepped closer and leaned down. You asked me what I was going to do, I whispered, just loud enough for him to hear. This. Then I walked out. By the time I got back to my hotel, Diane had already sent me a message. Diane, it's over. He's out. The board voted unanimously. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel relief. I just felt done. I sat on the balcony, watching the ocean waves crash against the shore, and I thought about everything. About all the years I had spent standing behind Mark, waiting for him to see me as his equal. About how he never did. And about how I finally stopped waiting. The next morning, I checked my email. There was one unread message from Mark. Mark, I don't know who I am without all of this. Please, just talk to me. I stared at it for a long time. Then I hit delete. I didn't need to talk. I already had my answer. And this time, I wasn't looking back.